are live from Studio B, as usual, here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful San Francisco's, am I saying San Francisco over? Must have had too much champagne at dinner, Julia.
Yeah.
I didn't have any champagne at dinner. We're at Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District. A couple, 3 blocks away from St. Francis Yacht Club. Thanks for joining us. Julia Vatican is here. And I'm your host, Tom Eamon. We've got some Zoomers on standing by. We've got Graham Sweeney there in the upper left corner, Clark Chapin, Ed Worley, and Vice Commodore Claire Harrington. Welcome to you. I don't know if Gordon Smith is going to join or not, but I see on the monitor, Julia, that we've got action coming.
Yay.
On the monitor from the, let's go over to it. There it is, from the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race Cruising Yacht Club of Australia stream.
Oh, good.
Coming off YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Thierry de Jong is here. Alan Long is saying hi from Mexico City. Theo Smith in Toronto, Ontario. Pedro Foiling Sailor is down under near where this telecast, at least the live telecast from Sydney, from where it is originating. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Let's, including and especially the Zoomers, let's go back for a minute. I got some slides that we can change the slides and stop listening to that music. Wishing all of you a very Merry Christmas.
That's a wonderful picture.
And if you're celebrating it, a happy Hanukkah. First time in what, Julia? 19 years that Hanukkah and Christmas have fallen on the same day, or at least the start thereof. And then here's a combo of that. Happy Chrismukkah. Chrismukkah. I stole a lot off the internet today. But indeed, to all of you, happy Chrismukkah. We have had a nice Christmas dinner here at the Beach Street Yacht Club a few minutes ago. Julie, you have champagne over there on the table next to you.
Yes.
And I do too. I'm not going to drink it, but at least it's a nice...
I can drink both of them.
You can drink both. It's a nice stage presence. Just quickly before we go to the telecast, they're gas bagging there for the next 27 minutes and 36 seconds. Our holiday schedule is as follows. We're today, of course, with the watch party, our traditional annual watch party for the start of the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, which, by the way, looks like it's going to be a quick race. There's a lot of breeze from the north once they get outside the heads this afternoon, and it could be a fast ride down to Tasmania, down to Hobart for at least the big boats, the lead boats, the 100-footers. So maybe by the time we do our regular show on Friday at 1300 Pacific time, we may have boats already finished. We have in the past, Julia, you remember, on our Friday show, we've had boats finishing early in the morning down there on Saturday morning when we're doing our Friday show, but doesn't look like that will be the case. Looks like they will all already, some of them at least, be finished. So our Friday show will mostly be focused on the results, at least so far, the results of this race. And we'll, of course, look in on the Vendée Globe, as we've been doing. New Year's Eve, our regular show, and the guys and gals that are on here and others are deciding who will be the first ever, the inaugural Sailing Illustrated Yachts person, the person of the year for yacht racing. For our show, we're going to declare that person a person, somebody from around the world. We're working on that. If those of you who were on the show yesterday heard this gang and more talking about the nominations that you all, that our FOSI and viewers of this show have sent in. We'll do that announcement of the 2024 Yacht Racing Person of the Year on our New Year's Eve black tie show, Julia. You don't have to be black tie to watch it, do you? Only here in
We'll check.
Only here in the studio.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, the 3rd of January, we'll do our regular show and get back into the swing of our regular Tuesday. And am I saying regular a lot? Every Tuesday and Friday are shows that air at 1300 Pacific, 2000 well, this time here 2100 UTC, because we're off daylight savings time. So it's an 8-hour difference to UTC and London this time of year. We want to thank all of you who are FOSI, whether patrons or regular viewers here on the show, or just joining us for coming on the show, but joining us in today's special Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race watch party.
Gordon Smith says, I'm here on the Zoom, but not sure I want to wake up the house at this time in the
Well, he
morning.
doesn't have to come on. They're on the studio monitor here. We've got what they're showing with 24:48 to go to the start of that race. And they have four starting lines. And we'll be looking at those starting lines. But let's go back to the slides for a moment. You can see there's plenty of breeze. And when they get outside, as I said a minute ago, when they get outside the heads and out into the ocean, it's going to be a sleigh ride, at least for the first night, afternoon, night, and probably much of tomorrow as they head their way down to Tasmania, to Hobart. And I just want to thank, we have Lance Burke who sent us some nice info on the weather, which we will get to in just a moment. But a quick 2-slide update on the Vendée Globe, day 45. There's where they are. At least the leaders have passed the Falkland Islands. I mean, they are making rapid progress. Third place boat has passed now Cape Horn, the Corn. And there are the standings as we speak from just a few minutes ago, unless something has changed. But Jan Richholm is still in the lead, as he was yesterday when we talked about, when we updated you on this race. Charlie Dallan in second, and they are way out ahead of the rest of the gang. And you note that Justine Metro down there at the bottom in 10th place, the first first lady, has moved from 11th up to 10th. And she's, I think, who did she pass? I can't remember. But that's where we are with the Vendée Globe. Now let's get to this race and give you a quick preview. Nice pictures coming off the tube here as the boats are getting ready to start in 23 minutes. And we'll go to that live in a sec. There is the course for the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, a straight shot. Once they're outside of Sydney Harbor, straight shot down the coast, as you can see. And once they get down to Hobart and to make the turn to the right towards Tasmania, it gets usually light and very dodgy and interesting. That is for days coming. But what we're watching this afternoon is the race on 4 starting lines. You see those 4 black bars in the graphic, and they all start at the same time, but about 200-300 meters apart on those 4 starting lines. The bigger boats on the first line to the right, and they sail a little bit longer course, the bigger boats, to keep the length the same for everybody. And the boats that start down there on that 4th line actually sail a shorter course, so by the time they get out in the ocean, they're all sailing approximately the same distance. Very clever, these Aussies.
Yes.
And as I said, we'll get into that, but what is the timing? They've taken the time off the big monitor. But look at this weather forecast, courtesy of Lance Burke here, a St. Francis Yacht Club member, navigator extraordinaire on the Commodore, the immediate past Commodore's boat, Julia. Beau Frolic, his classic yacht. And Lance is saying that it is going to blow, as the Aussies would say, eventually dogs off chains, but this afternoon it's going to be 15, gusting 20 out of the northeast. The start, he says, should be fantastic. And sunny with champagne conditions, broad reaching. Once they clear the heads, the TV coverage will mostly follow the big boats, and it should be a great show. There is the forecast for this evening, late 2300.
40 to 50.
And you see that when they get down into the straits there, it is 40 gusting 50. And he says by 11 o'clock tonight, the big boys will be in the thick of it. The fast 100s have a near rumline routing. A slower one is sent further offshore. He's done the routing himself as well. The coloring is gusts. Purple is over 50 knots. This is the GPS forecast, which is the most aggressive of the models that he looked, the GFS rather.
Yeah.
On the west side of the Tasmania Sea, the Tasman Sea, the wind is northwest behind an approaching front. You can see the southwest, I'll take that off there in a moment. The southwest wind barbs approaching the Bass Strait. The race will be all about how far south one can get before the front comes through. There will be a running, reaching, beating transition, and those in front will be beating less, as you can see from Lance's chart there. Finally, I'll go back to this last slide. And as they approach Tasmania, you can see the wind out of the west in the middle of the track. It's out of the south. The 50-footers are going to be fighting a headwind up there. They're still up alongside the coast of the mainland of Australia. The slow 100s and the fast 100s also have it on the nose. So it's going to be an interesting race. And again, where that transition takes place is going to determine a lot of who comes out at the top. He is saying finally by Friday afternoon, the fast 100s is at Tasman. They will be at Tasman starting up the Derwent River. The slow 100-footers will be beating down the Tasman coast, the 50-footers beating their way across the Bass Strait
In
confused seas. And he sent another chart, which I will not now bore you with. But let's go back to the coming off the TV via YouTube from Sydney with 18 minutes 55 to go. And while we're doing that, we might check in with our Zoomers, starting Graham Sweeney, who's on from Scotland. Good evening, Graham, to you. It's what, 01, nearly 30 there? Where is Graham's? Oh, I got to turn his audio up. That would help.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
Graham.
141 here tonight, and most of the house is asleep, and I'm still up to see this fun. Because no one else likes sailing in this house other than me. So.
Well, nice to have you with us again. You were the #1 Zoomer when we did the 31 watch parties. Did you miss any of those watch parties, Graham?
I did not.
When we did the America's Cup watch parties. Clark Chapin, a longtime friend of mine there in the upper right in Plymouth, Michigan, near my hometown of Ann Arbor, just east of my hometown of Ann Arbor, past Commodore of our beloved little yacht club, Portage Yacht Club, and past president of the esteemed Interlake Sailing Class Association, great contributor to U.S. Sailing Beyond. Clark, what is it there? 20:45 is almost 9 p.m. there in Michigan.
Correct. I'm wondering how these weather forecasts are going to affect Pip Hare's progress towards Melbourne.
Good question.
Good question.
Good question. I think she's, though, in a completely different regime.
I think she's on the back side of it. And a good friend of mine is on a cruise, Viking cruise, that's going from Sydney to Melbourne and then Melbourne to Tasmania over the next week. And I thought, well, you might get a chance to meet her in Melbourne or see her at sea.
Well, have you put them in touch so they can check in?
Oh, Matt Bounds is well in touch with what's happening.
Is this Matt who's on the cruise?
He was in Sydney before the...
Clark, is this Matt Bounds who's on the
cruise?
Oh, it is. Superb race officer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. And Claire Harrington, Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club, good evening to you. You're also on the East Coast and Eastern Standard Time Zone, where it's 20:45 approximately for you at home in Greenwich, Connecticut, it looks like, with your bells on.
No, they're my balls.
Oh,
Yes.
your balls.
Yes.
You got your balls on.
Yes.
Good evening to you, Commodore.
Yes, indeed.
Any news, any hot tips before we get into this?
No, just looking excited for the start of this race. I'll tell you a little story about the start of the Newport Bermuda race when there's a moment.
Okay, well,
That's right.
go ahead now. You might as well. We're 15 plus minutes to the start.
Oh, sure. Well, do you want to introduce the rest of the gang?
I think we have. We got all of them introduced, haven't we?
I don't think you introduced Ed yet.
Oh, we'll get to, okay, you go ahead with the story and then we'll go to Ed. Come,
Okay.
We'll let him be the, what do they say in baseball?
Cleanup?
The cleanup hitter.
Yeah.
That's right. Claire, carry on.
Yeah, so as you know, as race chair at New York for many years, I had the dubious honor of starting the Newport Bermuda race every other year in the even years. And the CCA of late was hammering pretty hard to start the Newport Bermuda race just like this race in the East Passage.
Inside Narragansett Bay.
Yeah, and oh boy, we it's almost twice as many boats. I think Newport, Bermuda is just shy of 200 boats and very, very narrow. And even though the Coast Guard and everyone, they closed that East Passage for the start of the race, we just thought this is going to be a nightmare. So we fought it. But actually, this past year, we did start it off Fort Adams, just inside Narragansett Bay, but not everyone together.
Was that the first time?
Correct.
We
Yes.
covered that live, actually. We happened to be on
Yes.
about the time you were doing that.
Yep.
Were you the principal race officer for that start?
No, actually, Forrest Williams was. I was the DRO.
Deputy race officer.
Correct.
Okay, cool stuff.
I turned it all over to him because he's now the race chairman.
A lot of people on here. Bobby Steele, Greg Phillips, who's watching from the Gold Coast of Australia. Bobby Steele down in SoCal, and lots of others as they're in commercial now. 14 minutes, just under, to the start of all four of these fleets. And let's go to Ed Worley, who's standing by on the Zoom, also one of our original Zoomers when we did all of those watch parties back in August, September, October. Hello, Ed.
Hey, how is everybody doing? This is great.
Never better. How are you?
I'm doing great. Christmas at home. This is wonderful. And the conditions look fantastic. These boats look fantastic. It's going to be exciting to watch.
Well, they've got good breeze, that's for sure. Blake Middleton is checking in from Minneapolis. Mary Longpree down in SoCal. Always an exciting start to this race. We were there for the start in '79, she says, she and her husband. Thanks for doing your watch party. Thanks for joining us. Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin is saying, Happy Christmas, Willie. What's Willie mean? Is that a British expression, Graham Sweeney? Happy Christmas, Willie?
No, I've never heard of it.
Maybe he's saying hi to somebody named Willie who's up in the chat, like Rick Bannerow.
Yeah. Somebody.
Claire Harrington, Rick is saying, is working the Scandinavian crown. Looking good. Ed can wait. Sorry, Ed. Rick Bannerow. Thanks again, Rick, for your Christmas present that we looked at on the show yesterday. Gordon Smith always knew Claire had more balls than most men. Oh, Gordon Smith. Claire, let's get Claire back on there and see if... does that need a finger wag, or do you approve of that?
No, that's a
Yeah, Mark Atchison is in the chat. We're missing Wild Oats this year, indeed. Claire and her fireplace scene just look wonderful, Stingray is saying. That's a nicer comment. I like Gordon Smith's comment. Did Claire win this year's Fairy on the Tree competition again? Claire, I see you're wearing the crest on your vest of my favorite prep school.
Yeah.
Tell us about that and what you did at St. George's.
You want to know? So it's St. George, as they say. So this is the symbol, the crest of the St. George's School in Newport, Rhode Island. And for 10 years, I was the chair of the music department, chapel organist, ran the choir, et cetera, et cetera. And then retired as a faculty member and went on the board for another, 8 or 10 years. Oh, I'm pretty plugged into the school, but this
you were on the board too.
Yes.
Oh, I did not know.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. A lot of things you don't know about me, Tom.
Well, I'm learning more every day. And St. George's, of course, it's just past First Beach. If you're in Newport and you know where the beaches are,
right.
You go past First Beach and you're in what's called Middletown. There's 3 towns on the island, on Connecticut Island, Newport, Connecticut, Middletown, and then you get up to Portsmouth, which is on the north end of Connecticut Island, and that school is just across the border in Middletown, Rhode Island, technically. Any other comments? Bobby Steele is telling us that it's a southerly buster when that front comes through from the west, and how strong that's going to be remains to be seen. He says it might be blasting the koalas out of the trees if it's that windy. Okay, well, we are looking. Thanks, Claire. Thanks to the Zoomers. Thanks to all of you. That picture in that square, in the upper left corner of the Hollywood Squares there, of the gallery is what, as I said yesterday, that's the signal we are sending back to the Zoomers, just so they can see what we are airing here on the live stream. With about 10 minutes and 16 seconds, 15 seconds to go to the start. Let's go listen to the audio coming from Sydney.
Fired by John Woody Winning, a great contributor to sailing in Australia. There's John in the white hat, looking nervous. Away he goes, right on time, as you'd expect. So we're in starters' hands now.
The 10-minute
The world
signal.
champion 18-foot sailor, and he provided the JBW, the radio relay vessel, for so many years, but no radio relay vessels this year. And John Winning was your best man, Peter, for your wedding. So you go back a long way.
He was indeed. So that's a nice touch and a great recognition for John to be able to fire that gun. But that's the scene looking back towards Rose Bay, and then we're moving now a little bit to the north, and we'll see the famous Nielsen Park beach.
Okay, Lisa, come in. What a scene.
It's incredible down here, Gordon. I think you guys have been talking about all the boats going back and forth, setting up for the race. It gets a little bit hectic because everyone's running their own program, so you're not quite sure where everyone's going, but the wind, it's been increasing slowly throughout the afternoon. It's getting up to 18 knots, like Peter was saying, but it is really gusty.
I think you all recognize her, right?
Yeah.
Here, which makes it quite exciting.
Darmanin?
I think if we look at this race
From
course,
Sail
they'll favour
GP?
the western
Yep.
shore. There's a little bit of a wind shadow under South Head, but not too much. So there is options, but I think they'll go the western side. They'll head up into the heads. And yeah, it's an incredible day to be out on Sydney Harbour. There's so many people enjoying it out here, and I think the sailors, I'm sure there's a lot of adrenaline, a lot of nervous excitement, but once that start line goes, once they get off that cannon fires again for the start, they can just go do their job, and it's going to be an incredible race this year.
Lisa Darmanin, America's Cup sailor, the inaugural Women's America's Cup this year, and also Olympic silver medalist, a dual Olympian, and how good to have her excitement, her adrenaline. You can hear and see the excitement from Lisa, and we look forward to her coverage during this start. And we're now just over 8 minutes away from the start, and there we see Bacchanal again, and internationals competing. There are 6 international yachts.
Okay,
And here's Caro from New Zealand.
Absolute race favourite, TP52, a Fastnet race winner. She's been third in this race, but we're looking back now towards the second and third starting lines. There's Shark Island. There's Celestial 7.
Centennial 7.
Centennial 7. She formerly was Celestial. They won this race, and it's an all-Filipino crew for the first time ever.
Yes, Ernesto Cachez, and they're Filipinos. They're all racing their first Sydney Hobart, and Ernesto is head of group chairman of the biggest motor car insurance company in the Philippines. He has several Centennial boats, and he has a TP52 back in the Philippines, but he was thrilled to get hold of Sam Haynes, 2022 winner.
Porca Rosso there. She's a previous winner. She won as Victoire, and she's now racing out of Tasmania. Murray Spence, the navigator, and a strong crew. Canting keel boat that will really enjoy these fast conditions this afternoon. She'll be pushed very hard. And here's Caro. We're back on Caro again.
Yeah, built to win the classic offshore races, the Fastnet, the Middle Sea race, the Hobart race, the Caribbean 600. They've already won the Fastnet race. They were a little disappointed last year, got on the wrong side of the weather pattern, the weather system, but they're out to make amends in 2024.
They'll be figuring highly in the handicap honours. Wade Morgan, Jules Salter, Justin Ferris, Ryan Godfrey, Adrian Stead. Really world-class sailors aboard this boat. Will Parker from Australia. He's previously won the race on Love and War in 2006. There's Law Connect. They'll be on small jibs down the harbour, probably J2s or even J3s. Because of these freshening breezes now, about 20 knots.
Christian Beck standing at the stern there. He said he likes to keep out of the way. He leaves it all to the professional sailors. In fact, he says that the boat goes best when I'm asleep. And he is enjoying a little more sleep in the racing leading up, because he's just had his 6th child born in November. And before last year's race, number 5 arrived just a couple of months out. So the Sydney Hobart, he says, gives him a bit of respite from the family and the screaming kids.
Well, he mightn't get much respite this afternoon and tonight, Gordon. It'll be wild and woolly, fresh to frightening this afternoon, and then there's change sometime after midnight. We'll hit the fleet. But standing by now for the 5-minute gun to be fired by another great Australian yachtsman, George Snow, owner of Brindabella. 1 line honours in 2 Brindabellas. There's George in the white hat, ready to fire the gun. He was 2 seconds late. Come on, George. Got to do better than that.
And these are replica cannons, Peter, from the Endeavour.
Claire, that's about the biggest race committee boat I've ever seen. They've got more spectators than they do race committee members on there, don't you think?
So distracting. I would never.
No wonder he was late with that cannon. I think
Really?
that great stuff. What a scene. Beautiful.
And everybody's got a watch.
No doubt.
There's a low tide about half an hour ago, so it'll be a slow flood of the tide, but nothing really to worry the fleet. There's Volstar, yeah, baby, won the recent Gold Coast race. She will be fast in these reaching conditions this afternoon. A big wide-bodied boat for the Reichman twins from Sydney. In the background, Avalanche. James Murchison's double-hander. She's one of the few double-handers on the second line. Most of the double-handers are on the third line.
Experienced 2 crew. James Murchison, his 16th, and co-skipper James Francis, his 15th. And there's Hutzbar.
From Victoria. This crew together have compiled 293 Hobart races.
Yep. Bruce Taylor, his 43rd. Kingsley Peace, the navigator, his 42nd. And a lot of the sailors arrived from Victoria last night. I saw them on the dock, Peter, and they're real seamen. And once they start this race, they'll take their total to over 300 Sydney Hobarts between them. Okay. And here's the oldest boat in the fleet, the oldest boat ever to race.
Maritime Cat Wincher, Michael Spies and Peter Vakakis. Built in 1904 in the Watney Brewery in United Kingdom. Antipodes, Jeff Hills, Santa Cruz 72. Experienced crew, Andrew Brown, Larry Jamison, Ralph Carlier and Bradshaw Kellett, all with 30-plus Hobart races to their name. She's on the front line.
Representing Hong Kong.
Okay, here are the start lines now. You can see them quite distinct now. The big boats right at the top of screen and the smaller boats will do it tough behind them. But they'll get an advantage when they get through the heads. They don't have to go as far north as the big fellas, but the big fellas will be rocking and rolling this afternoon. 2 minutes 30 to go. Nerves jangling at the moment to get the right start. Now, where are they going to set up here? Probably, as Lisa said, the western side of the harbour near Clifton Gardens may be favoured. The eastern side is towards Nielsen Park. They're just going back and forward across the harbour. Here's Zeus, an interesting boat from Michael Furman. It's a boat that will figure very well this afternoon.
Yeah, the co-owner is Simon Fenwick, a former London and New York fund manager, who's heavily involved in saving the orangutans in Borneo, along with David Griffith from Whisper. But it has a retractable foil, and it's going to enjoy the downwind conditions on this first afternoon and evening. Zeus. And here's Denali, another TP52, which has performed splendidly for Damien Parks.
Yep, Parksy on his 38th trip to Hobart. Minute 30 to go. Okay, we're starting to line up. Most boats will be on starboard tack. When you've got right of way on starboard, if any boats are coming to you on port tack, but at the moment on starboard tack, just luffing up now, just holding back. And it's time on distance now. When to push the pedal, that'll be the time to go. But both the big fellas down the top of screen, Master Lock Comanche and Law Connect.
URM pushing through in the middle, a real gaggle here of 7 boats.
Yeah, I think Wild Thing 100's in there. Willow just pulling across the bow of Wild Thing 100. Yeah, there's about 5, 6 boats stacked up here, but look at top of screen. Fight's on now. Law Connect and Master Lock Comanche. 50 seconds to go, and the starting gun to be fired by Simon Kurtz, whose father, Peter Kurtz, won this race 50 years ago on Love and War, and also in 1978, and this boat has won in 2006 as well, a 3-time winner. But here we go, let's concentrate now on the front line. Law Connect and Master Lock Comanche engaging.
And those little boats getting in the way up front for the 2 100-footers.
Yeah, they've got to thread the needle a little bit here. Law Connect looks strong. She can try to drive over the top of Master Lock Comanche here. And then in front of them, there's Willow to windward. 15 seconds to go. They're looking well back from the line. So it's going to be certainly a clean start on the first line. There's Simon Kurtz in the white shirt. 6 seconds to go.
Look at that crowd.
Blast off Full speed ahead in the 79th Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, the 79th edition.
Beautiful conditions, 18 to 20 knot, north-northeasterly breeze, and it's Law Connect that's got the jump on Master Lock Comanche. You can see the top of the screen. Master Lock Comanche will have to tack out of there shortly. They're getting into the zone of no-go with all the spectator craft. They're coming out of the exclusion zone. There's Willow tack first. She's going to have trouble here with Wild Thing 100. Willow, watch out. Wild Thing's trying to put the bow up. Wild Thing has all the rights. No, Willow's across. Nice start from Sam Haynes on Willow.
That little Zeus appears to have had an outstanding start as well at the pin end.
Bright blue boat, but they'll tack in tandem here, I think. Here's Trouble and Strife, one of the smaller boats. She got a good start on one of the second or third line. Here's the action on Law Connect. Okay, here's game on here. Law Connect has Master Lock Comanche on her hip. She can dictate terms here, Law Connect. I think that might be Caro between them, Gordon.
Yes, it looks like Caro.
Yeah, Wild Thing
matching
100.
it with the 100-footers.
URM, you can see her clearly on her sail. And then top of screen was Zeus.
Well, that was a stunning beginning by Zeus.
Yeah, and Caro. Caro got a terrific
as well.
start. She'll get a bit blanketed now by these bigger boats as they gain pace. Getting out near the Western Channel pile on the harbour. You can see Master Lock Comanche just dropping into the gas of Law Connect. There's the Western Channel pile. George's Head, for those that know the harbour. Wild Thing 100 just tacking on port. Both of the boats bailing out now, getting across into the middle of the harbour. Here's a close cross between Zeus and Alive. So Zeus had to get out of there because Alive had right of way. And here's Willow. They've got tiny, small jibs on. And Celestial with the Willow insignia.
Celestial V70,
yep.
Sam Haynes, and they've had a fantastic start, haven't they? And remember, there are 9 members of the winning Celestial crew on board, so they're vying for the lead here with Law Connect. And you've got to say that Master Lock Comanche was locked away by those smaller boats. Caro and also Zeus failed to give her the clear thread of the needle at the start.
Okay, most boats, I said earlier, are on small jibs because of the fresh conditions. Master Lock Comanche is just tacked, as has Law Connect. Tony Mutter will be put a close clamp on the boys on Master Lock Comanche. And as we saw last year, you can't take anything for granted here. Every second is vital because they won by just 51 seconds last time, so they'll be trying to gain any advantage they can in the harbour without taking risks. Here's a close cross. Willow
with right of way.
Willow definitely with right of way with Wild Thing 100. Oh, Warrow on Wild Thing 100. Left the tack pretty late, but that's clear. He's okay. Caro left of screen doing very well as expected with this world-class crew on board. Oh, Wild Thing. We've got to get the keel across, canted across, mainsail off, almost capsizing.
That wasn't very well done.
They left that tack very late. They didn't get
keel's
very
still
well
on the
set
wrong
up for
side.
it. As you can see, the result of that.
You can see the
very
keel.
untidy tack.
The keel has not
They're
swung
in the
over
middle
to
of the
windward.
harbour, somewhat just to the south.
They got a problem.
The Sound Peaks Reef.
There's the keel.
You can still see she's very
And you
unsettled.
can
She's
see
got to get
it's
that
a canting
swinging
keel,
across.
obviously.
Meanwhile, Willow Celestial
And something's
V70
broken.
has cleared
Think so?
away.
Yeah.
Peter, we saw the same thing last year with Scallywag and Andrew Comanche. Scallywag tacked too close and had to do 2 penalty turns before hitting Bondi. But no protest here. It was clear.
Yes, remembering if you do infringe in the harbour, you can absolve yourself by doing that 300 those penalty turns before you get south of Bondi. So it gives you some relief if there is an incident in the harbour. But at the moment, it is Law Connect that leads from Master Lock Comanche, and then Celestial V70 will be third.
And Lisa, what happened there to Wild Thing?
It looks really strange because from where I was sitting, it did look like they actually didn't see them. It was a really late scramble to be able to get out of the way of Celestial. What's interesting down here now is that URM is the only boat that's really coming on the eastern side of the channel. So it'd be interesting to see if they make any gains. But I was speaking to Tony Mutter when I was on Law Connect before the race saying, what's the strategy, what's the tactics? And he said an old school match race between them and Master Lock Comanche. And that's exactly what we're seeing out here. They're not giving them any room. Right now they're giving them a little bit of breathing room, but it's a really nice battle out here on the harbour from the front of the fleet all the way to the back.
Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin, yes, and you've got to say Law Connect, Tony Mutter and Chris Nicholson, they've got the wood on Comanche again here after that start.
I'm sure on URM have gone down the eastern shore, getting the tactics from Grant Simmer, the winning America's Cup navigator way back in '83. But it is Law Connect that's holding all the aces at the moment, and last year she led them out the harbour as well.
And the year before.
And it looks as though she's going to do the same thing again. As Christian Beck says, that always gives him a great thrill, but it'll be a bigger thrill if he can get line honours in Hobart. And Gordon, we might mention they're on, the forecast is that they could be well on record pace, which means the record is 1 day, 9 hours and 15 minutes. So they've got to be in Hobart at 10:15 tomorrow night. It's a strong possibility.
Yeah, speaking to Lindsay May this morning, who did his 50th consecutive Hobart race last year. He was on the Jackson, the spectator boat. He said these boats could do 600 miles in the first 20 hours, these 100-footers. But they've got to hold it all together too, Peter, because of those fast downwind conditions and keeping the boat safe, even pulling off a bit of speed.
Look at some of the smaller boats now, but there's Law Connect. She's probably tacked close to the ley line for the turning mark. She's on, oh, maybe they're a bit under the ley line, I think, but she's got a nice grip on Master Lock Comanche at the moment. She can control this race till the first turning mark and then sprung sheets out to the furthest eastern turning mark and then heading south for Hobart. But Celestial V70 in good shape, and there's a couple of the smaller boats. 1, 2, 4, 5 there is...
Yeah, Joe Holtzman, if they're down there at 10 o'clock tomorrow night, they're Friday night, our Thursday.
Sandringham Yacht Club in Victoria.
That's an unbelievable pace. But they've got this, as those of you who were with us in the pre-show, before the race started, the 30 minutes before, we showed Lance Burke's forecast, and it's consistent with what the race officer and others, the organizing authority, have said the conditions would be. That's quite breezy. When they get outside the heads now, after this tacking and jiving between the two leaders here, Law Connect and Comanche, they are going to have a sleigh ride down the coast of Oz with a strong northerly behind them, and it's going to be a quick race, it sounds like. Unbelievable pace, Clay Embley is saying, if they don't break, indeed.
Comanche not giving him an inch to breathe. Breathes a little bit lighter as they get up towards the turning marks. You can see bow down a little bit on Law Connect. Look at that spectator fleet in the background, keeping their distance. Coming across.
Any of our Zoomers care to comment? I've got your mic up, so just chime right in, please.
That other boat recovered.
As they say.
Go ahead, Claire.
I was wondering if that other boat recovered with the keel problem.
Well, you'd think they'd give a little more coverage of it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, they've obviously got the problem with the swing keel. It did not swing, as Greg Newman's saying here in the chat. First, you got to push the button. And I suspect they did push the button, and then they were probably pushing it repeatedly. Push, and it did not swing over. At least what I could see, what we could see from that aerial shot. Hopefully they'll go back to Lisa Darmanin and give us an update.
She was just on and she didn't give one.
Well, I know, I saw that, but hopefully they'll go back to her, Julia.
Tacked on the port tack ley line now. Master Lock Comanche will go with
the helmsman yells,
go ahead, Clark. Start again, Clark.
This is when the helmsman yells, hydro, hydro, hydro.
Yeah, right. 2013 America's Cup here in San Francisco when, who was that? Dean Barker was saying, hydro, 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 when they tacked, and their wing sail on the AC-72 did not invert, and they almost capsized. I was cheering for them to capsize. I got to admit. I got to admit. Anybody else want to comment before we go back to the live commentary?
Down Tasmania as
Okay.
always will be tricky, but here's Law Connect. Bow down a little bit now. She's slightly sprung. And in the background, Master Lock Comanche trying to win this line honours for the 5th time.
Peter, this is how they finished last year at the end of 628 nautical miles. Will we see the same again? What a dogfight it's going to be between these two 100-footers.
Okay, well, there's the first turning mark. She's got the first job done.
Bragging rights for Law Connect.
I think what's going to happen
Tony
this year,
Martin,
and
there's
they're not
Gypsy.
saying it in so few words,
Reach
but
out now to the furthest
uh,
sea mark, furthest
Comanche
northern sea
is
mark.
so fast
She's
downwind,
opened up a
long
nice
and
look
narrow.
here on Master Lock
I,
Comanche, must say.
Claire, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Comanche roll right past them when they get outside and never look back. What do you think?
Yeah, once they bear off,
Yeah.
they're going
And,
to fly.
that's Celeste
70.
will
Yeah,
be
their
the
water
final
line gets a lot longer, and they will just rocket down the coast. But we'll see. Law Connect's a pretty good team, and it should be exciting to see. The boat for boat, the line honors winner, which of these two boats, presumably, will be the first to finish? Graham Sweeney, have you ever photographed or indeed raced in this race?
No, I've wished many a sailing friend well when they've gotten the plane to go down there, who dreams of doing it myself, but it's past it now. I'm too late for that. But yeah, I would have done it in my day. I'd have done it definitely. Wouldn't have thought twice about it.
Yeah, Andrew McIrvin, they're not that narrow. Comanche's not that narrow, but they are so powerful when they go downhill. Andrew McIrvin is in the comments, and I wonder what he is thinking. Which of these two boats is going to get there first, given the conditions? Andrew, maybe you'll comment, or even come on the Zoom. Anybody wants to come on the Zoom, there's the Zoom ID, the meeting ID, and the passcode. You're welcome to join our Zoomers there if you are so inclined.
Spectacular start to the Rolex Sydney Hobart, and Law Connect again getting the break at the start, and great work there by Tony Mutter, the skipper, and also Chris Nicholson, the celebrated Australian sailor who was competing here at the 2000 Olympics in this vicinity, representing Australia in the 49er class.
Yeah, twice Australian Yachtsman of the Year, and they got to that turning mark in just under 10 minutes. So it was good pace down the harbour, even though they were attacking. These maxis that are incredible boats that go at a credible speed.
Pegging order, Law Connect, Comanche, Celeste V70 URM. You're watching the start of the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race.
There's the boat with the keel problem. Seems to be fixed now. Yep. Just tacking her on the mark. They're going to commercial, but they'll come back, I think, as Channel 9 is now showing commercials, but they will, the nice thing about watching this on YouTube is that they will be showing it, and actually with commentary, usually they go quiet. But Wild Thing seems to be sorted.
Collision where they left their tack a little late. Grant Warrington on Wild Thing, the 100-footer, the third of the 100-footers, and followed out, I think it may have been Alive, Peter, coming out in 6th position.
Yes, it was Alive.
So they seem to be sorted out. There's the answer.
Yeah.
It's probably Gavin Brady steering, is it?
There's Adrian Carlin with
Carlin,
her laptop.
I think earlier I said 30 Hobart. This
is
is
32nd.
32nd trip. Okay, here's it. Okay.
It's nice to see an event that is so wildly popular anywhere in the world, but particularly in a country that sells. There's a penalty being done.
We saw that just before the start, Peter. They were there may have been some contact with another boat, and a protest flag may have been flown.
You cannot take any risk, that's for sure. You don't want to go to Hobart with a protest hanging over your head. So they've just done one turn, and they're just rolling into their second turn. So 2 360-degree turns. So their conscience is clear now. Jibo, they weren't expecting to do that 10 minutes ago, but anyway, smart sailing by some smart operators.
Already we're over 100 comments. Nice to do these watch parties. Thanks for joining us, especially the Zoomers. Scott Davis says, I love watching this start with a belly full of Christmas dinner and treats every year.
Yeah.
Mark Atchison thinks, given the predicted wind speed direction, my money is also on Comanche, bigger butt, meaning the rear end of that boat. That was a disadvantage last year in the light in the final miles. Yeah, they were a bit more sticky than Law Connect in that very light air flat water as they went into Hobart. But I think she'll stretch out enough lead along the way this year. Well, anything can happen. Andrew McIrvin agrees. He says Comanche should do it this time. Matt Allen, who's the past president of Australian Sailing and a senior serious guy in the sport, he knows what he's up to with this race. Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin is saying from London, where it's what, 02:15 in the morning on your Boxing Day, on your Thursday. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Bobby Steele also saying, my bet is Comanche.
Hey, Tom.
The front of the fleet, it's Law Connect.
Go ahead, Ed.
URM did a 720.
Yeah, we just saw it.
Yeah, I wonder what she did wrong.
Yeah.
I think it was right after the start. There was an incident with a smaller, right? I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what we saw. Claire, did you see that?
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I think that's what he said. It was around the time of the start.
There go the kites.
Okay.
Watch this. And
Might have been a
then we'll go
collision.
to our resident judge, Clark Chapin, who, along with Dick Anderson a few years back, did a mock protest when they had a port starboard in the harbor between two of these maxis. And Clark and Dick, actually, they represented the yachts. Not a very flash set there
Yeah. What is
on
that?
Law Connect with that big reaching Jenniker out there on the bowsprit. And look at Comanche grind up underneath them to leeward. They're going to go blow right past them to leeward. No, it's not unfurling. You see, it's supposed to unfurl all the way to the top of the rig, clearly.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's not unfurled. Now it's starting barely to work up there, and you don't want to sheet it on until it's unfurled. You could rip it right off the
Just push it up
the
with your
stay.
finger. Yeah.
But there goes Comanche.
Engaging the afterburners.
Indeed.
The spectator fleet is spectacular, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great, Claire, because what they do now is they follow. There are camera people, camera persons on some of these yachts, and as they get down the coast after about an hour, we're in what now? Only 17 minutes into this race, right? 18 minutes into this race. And they're already out in the ocean, and the camera people start to hop off the boats and get picked up by chase boats. Law Connect still doesn't. You can see at the very top of that rig.
Yeah. As I said, just push it.
Still, and even at the bottom, it's not unfurled.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, Julie, those are just huge sails and
I know.
tremendous load, as you know.
I know.
And there's Comanche with that big, wide rear end of that boat with lots of riding moment. Is this URM doing another turn?
No.
Clark Chapin,
No, it's the same turn.
is this a replay? Clark?
Yeah. Look at the background. It's the same
Yeah,
turn.
you're right. Yeah, there goes Alive. I remember Alive going past them as they were completing that first turn.
Tom, have they reported the wind speed? Clark thinks it's around low teens or so. Is that what you said?
I think that's right. I think when they get out, the report that we had from Lance Burke was that it was going to be in the teens, gusting into the 20s when they get outside. It looks on the water surface to me. I don't know what the rest of you think. It looks every bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks a little spicy.
Yeah. I mean, look at the shirts blowing in there. Look at the flags.
Yeah.
That's plenty of breeze. High teens, if not 20-ish.
Beautiful boat. And here's Pretty Woman for Richard Hudson, a really good competitor from
Pretty
the
Woman.
Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club here
Da,
in
da,
Sydney.
da, da, da.
Yes, they're aiming to win their second IRC Corinthian trophy in a row.
Richard, I think there's about 3 girls on board. Pretty Woman.
Julia, 3
And
women
Yacht
on
takes
that
a lot
boat.
of
Were you
Good.
gonna, were you going to say something?
Here's
No, I was
URM
just thinking
earlier.
it's a Corinthian
Going round
yacht.
the turning mark.
Nice
and
Christmassy
they
shirt.
are setting
Yes.
the reaching sail. And hot on their heels is Whisper. So URM have absolved themselves with a penalty turn. There's
Clark, there's no doubt in a 600 plus nautical mile race, you would agree that they should absolve themselves, right? Take the penalty and rather than risking a protest and having your time docked at the end of the race by 30 or more minutes.
Oh, yeah, we've seen that repeatedly. Also, you know, I got to put my judge hat on and say that the penalty is 2 turns, 2 tacks, and 2 jibes, not necessarily 360 or 720 degrees.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, 2 tacks and 2 jibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it 90 some odd percent of the time that results in doing 2 loops, 2 circles.
Yeah, it turns out that sailors can't count degrees very well, but they can count tacks and jibes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Excess moment, yes. Built in 2011, Ray Hudson from the Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club here.
There's
in
your
New
yacht
South
club,
Wales.
Julia.
Here's a close cross here between
And
these
Tommy
two boats.
Spithill. Jimmy Spithill is a duck.
Around the stern
Boy,
there,
there could be a
number
protest on that.
16 is
Mayfair.
Mayfair, yeah.
James Irvine from
Tacked
the Royal
right in front of
Queensland
him.
Yacht Squadron, Rogers 46.
What do you think, Clark?
Here's the Frenchman here. That again is a good big
Well,
chance
first
on
of all,
handicap.
it's a mark to starboard.
Away from France.
Okay,
This race
so
via
Rule
the
18.3 doesn't
transatlantic race,
apply.
the Caribbean 600 through the Panama Canal. And here's its sister ship, Bacchanal.
But
The Frenchman, Coquety.
Well, I didn't see any particular movement that would indicate a penalty due there.
oh, I thought they had to bear away to keep clear of the yacht that was tacking right in front of them. That was my take, but
Well, but
what do I know?
we often discuss what it is you know.
Touche.
Well, it's fair. That's fair dinkum, as the Aussies would say. Here come some of the smaller boats. What a scene, what a great Boxing Day afternoon. It's the 26th, of course, down there. In Oz, this race is only 22 minutes old. Started at 1800 our time.
Power reaching, which will enable the boat to lift.
Yeah,
And,
they put that out to leeward. It creates lift and stability. And it was designed specifically for these conditions they'll get this afternoon. David Gilmore aboard, son of Peter Gilmore, famous America's Cup yachtsman.
Peter McDonald is in the chat. You're saying that's the old Stark Raving Mad. Which boat is that, Peter McDonald?
His 16th Rolex Sydney Hobart, and there is
Bob Steele is looking at his weather information. Bobby, of course, is superb. He does the weather for us at the Gov Cup every July. He's saying northeaster 20 plus knots, true. So outside they've got plenty of breeze, 20 plus.
Taylor could to win this race.
He's had several podium finishes over the years.
2.527 there was Xanthus.
There's Hutzpah with Bruce Taylor in his 43rd, Kingsley Peace in his 41st.
And Antipodes just trying to get the Spinnaker set. Fred on the sail is Smuggler leading the Blue Water Championship going into the final race. Another TP52 for Seb Bohm.
Yeah, Seb Bohm's an interesting character, Peter. He is a comedy promoter of artists and a music promoter. And his father used to take Mr. Bean out sailing in Adelaide before he did his one-man show. So there you go.
Mr. Bean.
Seb Bohm.
Mr.
A winner
Bean.
with
Is he
his
still-
band
he's
of the
dead, isn't he?
Triple J Unearthed.
Yeah.
I mean, not
No,
that that
no.
matters.
He was a bass guitarist, but he said sailing has got him out of the bars.
Heaven forbid a musician.
Yeah, indeed, Claire. Peter McDonald is saying that I think it was called Alive, wasn't it? Peter McDonald, the boat that sailed past URM when they were doing their spins, their loops. And you're saying that's the former Stark Raving Mad?
And there is Ragtime, Steve Watson,
Oh,
sail number 130.
Baton Rouge says Mr. Bean is still alive.
Much smaller boats now working their way.
Is he?
Is he? I
around
guess
the
he
inner
is.
turning mark. There's Arwen, designed as
Fruit salad.
this is Arwen here. It was originally an Amoca 60. And there's Love and War, just gone round the turning mark. 294, Love and War. enjoying the fresh upwind conditions in the harbour. A bit tricky for her this afternoon in these hard running conditions. Steve McCullum at the wheel. He's the Commodore of the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania. So the two clubs.
Yeah, Pedro Foiling Sailor, a.k.a. Peter Stevenson, down in Sydney, is saying Rowan Atkinson,
Peter, I remember greeting
his
you
real
in the
name.
bar
Mr.
in
Bean
Grace
is still alive and well.
You were on board, and this boat won its first of 3 Rolex Sydney Hobart. You're only a young pup. You're just out of nappies, I
We're
think.
getting back into the part of the fleet now that has white sails.
Say again, Clark?
Right.
As we're getting back into the part of the fleet now that has white sails.
Yeah, indeed. And look at Law Connect still struggling with that big reacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sail is not right.
Yeah, that is not correct, is it?
No.
You can see Comanche. I think that's them way ahead in Leeward. Isn't that Comanche? Boy, they got a big lead already, but anything can happen when they get into the Derwent. Well, gang, they're going to go to commercial on Channel 9, but they're still following it. I like this, watching it on YouTube. By the way, just in case you're all wondering, I have another computer here in the studio and was dialing in via VPN. This on this computer right here, Channel 9, but Channel 9 now will not stream to anybody on a VPN. So even though it looks like on the VPN that I have an IP address in Australia, they won't. So luckily the YouTube is working without any problem. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
On this Christmas night here in the States. It's now Boxing Day in Europe. And of course, Boxing Day afternoon down under.
In this double-hander.
It's a tiny little boat. Here's a couple of the two-handers. There's the race favourite for the two-handers, Rupert Henry's Mistral, number 1 on the sail. Got an absolutely outstanding crew with him. Corentin Duguay, one of the real guns of French short-handed sailing. He's done it all. TJV, the Route de Rhum, and with Rupert, when they won the Normandy Channel, when they featured in the Normandy Channel 1000 race earlier in the year. And just behind them, 4441.
And just ahead is Bazaar, Scott Robinson.
Yep.
Rick Bannerow is asking if there's a multi-hull class or a multicultural class, but I think he means multi-hull class. And to the best of my knowledge, they have never allowed multi-hulls in this race.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah, Verite is another.
Those double-handed sailors,
entry.
They do have double-handed, a pretty robust double-handed
First time
fleet,
yachts
but they're all
competing.
monohulls, right,
Yeah.
Claire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
22
But those
new
guys,
boats
I mean, that's really tough.
It
Double-handed.
is.
Indeed. Jody Shields, who's watching this, I guess he's watching with us. He's down in presumably Wanji, north of Sydney. But look at Law Connect, still struggling with that.
So Law Connect.
Man, why haven't they taken that down
Right.
and tried to fix it?
I was been wondering that myself.
They really don't know what to do here.
They probably can't furl it in. It's stuck on a rolling furler mechanism.
Pull it down because they can't
Yeah, but they must be able to get it down, can't they?
down. They've really got to keep it
I
up.
would think so.
Try some
Have
way.
they
think
sent
so.
anyone up the mast?
You see, look, now it's unfurled at the bottom, but not unfurled at the top.
Wow.
So I don't, somebody will have a view on here.
Worst possible
Jody
night
Shields
for
is not
the
impressed with the coverage. He's saying, what a hopeless
Law
coverage from
Connect
Channel 9. Why is it so hard to get a
They're
decent
still
coverage
having
for our
problems,
sport?
Peter, with this
Well, the problem is,
force.
Jody, they don't, probably whoever the producer
it
director
doesn't
is
seem to be
not a
solving
keen
itself.
yacht racing sailor, doesn't know the storyline. It's Christmas, so maybe it's a second or even third tier team. It's the same commentators as always.
Okay, they're trying to furl it up now. They've just finally got it.
Blake
furled up.
Middleton agreeing that,
There we go.
that it finally, oh, they furled it back up.
Already to master lock
Blake Middleton agreeing two-handed boats deserve a major props to compete in these conditions. The Law Connect twisted, J. Frederick Bland is saying. Okay, I wonder how many times they have tried that and we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times. Hello, Will Bolden. There's Will Bolden out normally in Perth. Good Gov Cup veteran and coach. Good friend. Nice to see you on, Will. I just wonder how many times they've tried to furl that up and unfurl it. Jody Shields is saying his criticism is that they're cutting, Channel 9's cutting the advertising package at the most critical time, useless. Well, that's always a problem. Bad
I'd
day.
like to know if Law Connect is hiring because, I could do that.
Well, that's a shame. I mean, obviously they've got a problem that they have any number of times furled and unfurled that jib, both in the, they have a series of races leading up to this one in December.
I was wondering why they didn't send somebody up.
Well, because it's tough to get up there, first of all. It's a long way. They think they're going to pull it out. And going up there isn't necessarily going to solve the problem if they've got a mechanical problem up there at the top of the rig with the roller furler. But I wonder why they didn't take it down. Maybe somebody else on here will know why they just didn't take the thing down, get it back into the cockpit, and then pull it back up.
In the meantime, Comanche is walking away.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Screaming. Yeah.
Hi, Tom.
Graham?
I would think if it's still not unfurled on the roller, the resistance would be so great you wouldn't get it down. And getting it down on these things is a massive task.
Well, indeed. Just pulling it into the cockpit when it blows over the side.
If it's a problem with the drum rotating, then that's the problem, not the sail. So they'll have to do that.
That's probably.
Scott Davis says, I feel like it was unfurled at the bottom, then it furled back on itself at the top. That's a possibility. We've seen that happen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's the Making Waves Foundation, and these include several sailors with disabilities.
Guy Briere from the Southern Yacht Club, don't call me Guy, is saying only 6 shopping days left to my birthday. Happy New Year. Hello, Guy. Great guy from Southern Yacht Club, good friend.
Yeah. Mark Collins said these aren't professional announcers. None have mentioned maneuvers yet.
No maneuvers. No sail GP maneuvers, Julia. Law Connect is 10 knots. Graham Sweeney's watching it on the tracker. I guess, Graham, are you? 10 knots slower than Comanche at the moment? No surprise. They don't have a headsail. They don't have a reaching headsail.
I checked the AIS and they were literally doing 10 knots less, which at this moment in time, if you want to get a gauge on Comanche, you really need to be close. At least at this start of the race. And I think if he's worried about winning this race, he wants to be up there with him. But I got a feeling it's Comanche's race, and it's going to be a record race. So we're watching a record, I reckon.
Might as well do it.
Yeah, that's what everybody seems to think, don't they? Julia?
Sir.
Are you enjoying this?
Of course.
So am I. Rick Myers, first, it would be nearly impossible to get it in the boat, meaning, we get it back into the cockpit. Second, if you take it down unfurled, it can't be furled on the boat.
Oh, that may be
true. It won't be
true.
able to be used in the race.
Aha. That's probably right.
Thank you, Rick Myers. Andrew Barkworth confirming Comanche's already a nautical mile ahead of the record already. Okay, there's a long way to go, but they're only going to increase that performance vis-a-vis the record in the conditions they expect over the next 24 plus hours. They got the breeze behind them, as you can plainly see. The coast is to the right. They're headed to the south there, out in the Pacific Ocean. They seem to have, that's the boat that had the problem with their big swinging keel, right? No, that's Comanche. I beg your pardon.
Sailing well.
They got the Bermuda rig up, Claire. Now they're sorted.
There we go.
And that's what panned out last year. They sorted out the problem and then were able to make a real race of it with Andrew Comanche. But up ahead, as we look at, that looks like sail number 8. Just trying to read that, 847, is it?
I think. No, it's Cyan Moon, B47, Wayne Seaward. It's an Beneteau Oceanus 473. He won the PHS division in 2022. The Royal Brighton Yacht Club in Melbourne, just rolling over the top of poor old Sean Langman in the Little Kismet. So they'll be racing in the PHS division, which is...
Bobby Steele, you're in the chat. How much breeze are you seeing now? What's your prediction for when they get down into the gap?
White here, number 96 on the bow.
How much breeze, especially for these trailing boats, the smaller boats, when that westerly comes through?
Turning mark for the boats who started on the fourth line is very close to the South Head Rocks. But the decision...
Here comes the helicopter shot
and I always
of the
remember
leader.
Abrahams, Peter, who did 43 Hobarts in a row. He said the two key areas you have to decide are, one, find the currents and decide whether...
That's not the leader. That's Wild Thing.
Yeah.
Got their keel sorted.
Well, I think they'll be working their way offshore because there's a bit more current, and they'll probably stay on this...
They say
northeast
Gavin
stream.
Brady was on that boat?
There's Grant Warrington.
I didn't hear that.
Gavin Brady is?
Yeah, he's on one of these boats. I heard them. They mentioned him.
Interesting.
Just rigging the spinnaker pole. It's a tiny little boat. It's going to be a long trip to Hobart for these boys. But Speezy's been there. 46 is his 46th trip.
46th race.
Not the smallest boat.
Double pander.
He went down on telly.
He probably hasn't done double-handed all that. Yeah, apparently the driver of this boat this is his 46th race, I think they just said.
DMR, which was Department of Main Roads. He couldn't afford wet weather gear, so he borrowed some. But one of the legends of the race, Michael Spees.
Just for Love, a FAR 51 for Scott Lovell from Port Dalrymple Yacht Club, as you can see on the stern there, and the Tamar Yacht Club in northern Tasmania. As we look at URM, they've got their troubles behind them. They've done their penalty turn and reaching
Canoe
hard
stern,
now. You can
J.
see the
Frederick
white
Land is
caps
saying.
building, and that's going to
Alex Kent, what boat is our friend Chris Lewis?
They have the
Christopher Lewis here from St. Francis Yacht Club. What boat is he on?
The Wallaby. Bill Young
The
on board.
San Francisco book is
And he's a
Bacchanal.
famous boat, a two-time winner. Wild Oats, the original
Yeah, is he
boat
on that
for
boat
the
though?
late
I'm not
Robert
sure he's
Oakley.
on
I
that
don't know.
boat.
Bruce Farr design, built for the 1985
Mark
Admiral's Cup
Atchison
trials,
says
yes.
AIS is showing Comanche
Roger
doing
Hickman took it to
22
two
and Law
victories, the
Connect
late
doing
Roger
13. Well, I
Hickman.
think Law
Just
Connect's
getting
probably
the spinnaker
back up
from down below to set that when they get round
doing
the
better
turning
than
mark.
13 now, Mark. Now that they got their jibs sorted out. Check again.
Celeste,
So Chris
one of the
Lewis,
smaller boats here for sure.
Lou is on Law Connect, Alex Kent is saying.
Yes, it's Saskia Gron Infeld. It's the Water Swan 38.
One of those original Swan 38s, very comfortable boat, and they realise they're not going to be amongst the place getters, they said, but they're out for adventure and to have a comfortable ride. Well, it'll certainly be comfortable, but as it is now on Celestial V70, Sam Haynes, Rob Greenhall and the crew, Alex Nolan the navigator. They've got a nice clear path, clear air behind them.
Graham Sweeney says Law Connect is doing
They will
18
be
knots.
pushing hard. These are conditions that she was made for. and
What do you
built
see?
for.
Are Comanche still
Yes,
doing
built
22,
for
Graham?
The Volvo Round the World race. But this is the Rolex
Alex Kent
Sydney
says
Hobart
Lou,
Yacht race. You're watching the
Christopher
start
Lewis
here.
is Law Connect's navigator.
Willow's doing very well too.
Indeed. Okay, I think there are another 20 minutes here. Thank you for joining us. They're in commercial break now on the 9 Network.
Sail number 1808. And what was that? 1880. If it's no, it was Rum Rebellion. Actually, Shane Connolly and Tony Sutton. They were forced to retire last year, only 5 hours into the race off Wollongong, when Shane was hit by a big gust of wind, a 40-knot gust.
Tossed him overboard, actually.
Yep.
He was a bit of trouble there for a while, but a very good two-handed competitor. Now we're watching some of the tail enders come through the heads.
This is Inukshuk, another double-hander from the Royal South Australian Yacht Squadron.
All reefed down.
Nice big cabin to hide under when the going gets tough.
Robert Large and Stuart Watson.
I think this is Silver Fern from New Zealand, Gordon, I think.
Yes, Silver Fern, New Zealand. It's part of the ocean sailing expeditions.
I thought they'd be an all black jumpers. They're all in all green jumpers. That's a bit unpatriotic for the...
Well, a lot of those sailors have paid to be part of this experience. Ocean sailing expeditions. There are 2 boats entered from that organisation from New Zealand. And what an initiation for them.
Flat white. Sydney to Hobart on the stern. Yeah, well, that's where you're going. That's where you got to aim for. Journeyman flat white. Jen Lakova and Jeffrey Tomlins. Radford 12.2 from the Middle Harbour Yacht Club here in Sydney. Spinnaker's billowing out now from the tail enders, just all around their respective turning marks. Meanwhile, at the front of the fleet, Master Lock Comanche be well past Botany Bay now, certainly on record pace, but I think that we're looking this afternoon, certainly they will gain valuable time against the record. It's what happens later tonight or in the early hours of the morning on how they'll get through the transition zone into this westerly stream.
Scared me.
And there's going to be a bit of a lee under Tasmania too that they've got to negotiate. That will, as always, make things a bit tricky, but if anyone can do it, it's either of these 2 big maxis, you would think.
Well, the record fleet was 371 yachts. That was for the 50th race, but we've had 104 starters in 2024. And very fresh conditions as we now start to head down the New South Wales coast.
There's the defending champion alive. And you can see that orange staysail they've set. That is their storm jib. And because they're not allowed to carry a multitude of sails, they've got to adapt these sails to various applications. So they adapt their storm jib as a staysail, and most boats do that. And she's driving hard, a double head rig.
She's going to compete in the Melbourne-Osaka race in March for Duncan.
You see
Hine.
Andrew Barkler's comment? He says once Comanche gets to Hobart, in record time they can keep going and try to catch Jan Richaume on the Globe.
I saw that, yeah.
This year.
Mark Holland asking, with 104 starters, I wonder how many will finish.
Kevin LaPoitevin and Darryl Gray from the Port Stephens Yacht Club, just north of
Rick
Sydney.
Bannerow, shout out to the Super Fozy for their expertise and intellectual input, and Jody and Stingray for the witticisms.
Indeed.
Done a lot of solo, or Kevin's done a lot of solo sailing. 13,000
Any
miles
observations
solo,
from our
22
Zoomers?
see there,
I have a new favorite boat name.
What's that?
ready to be reefed there.
Sustainable
There's
Waste
Salt Lake.
Management.
That's a comfortable boat. Very comfortable, Peter. I was looking at it down at the dock the other day. Matthew
Ed Worley
Harvey,
shaking his head no. Why do you like that name, Ed?
Rick Stern,
I know we have
his
to have
fifth
commercial
race, Murray
sponsorship
Stewart,
on our yachts, but
bring the boat.
let's have a little decorum on the naming and the signage on the boats.
Heavy weather, no doubt.
You know,
She retired from
Oh, come on, you old stick in the mud. It's, come on, it's fun to have a little bit of excitement. A little
yeah, it
bit.
is. It's just waste management. It's not the kind of thing. Go, waste management.
No, this is what it is. It's sustainable waste matter. This is what does it.
WAIST.
Originally from
I'm just as an
Australia.
old bowman. I'm just looking out there going, wow, it's
Back in
wet.
2009.
Yeah, it's
Gotta
gonna-
get
Up
wetter.
around the bow.
It's going to
Oh,
be
man.
wetter yet. It's going to be a long, wet ride. That's right.
Chinese whisper.
You got to curl your toes and hang on to the rail
It's gone from
when you're
a
up there.
to a small fellow.
Looks like a rough night for all on board. Jonathan Frank is with us. Jonathan, are you flying? Did you get on a 777 the other day?
Back
for a Christmas trip to Europe or somewhere, or are you back in Houston? Sorry about your football team today. We watched them.
You say you're sorry, but you're not really.
Well, yeah, the 49ers are out of it, and I'm cheering for your team, Clark. The Lions, the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. I would say in the subject of decorum and boat names, once Jerry Shostak named his boat Fujimo.
Yeah, do you want to tell everybody what Fujimo stood for? Her name was Jane.
Yeah.
That was like Fire One, FYRWUN. There was a boat named Fire One. It was a tender in the America's Cup. Claire probably knows this. A tender in the America's Cup back in the 70s or 80s. What's Lisa saying?
It was quite tricky to get out of that harbour, those turning marks.
Okay, nothing too exciting. And Fire One stood for, fuck you, Ratsy, we're using North. FYRWUN. Are you going to tell us, Clark, what Fujimo stood for? The Detroit boat? You're not going to.
No, it's F.U. Jane, I'm moving out.
That's right.
But it was written in this pseudo-Japanese script.
Yeah, Fujimo. And it won, I don't know how many Mackinac races, but it won quite a few. Clay Embley likes the boat named Kiss Me Tender. Well, there was, the French wanted number 69 for their boat. And that's another story we'll tell sometime. French Kiss. And the tender was Kiss Me Too. Kiss Me Tender.
Head south, but I'd like to make a couple of special mentions, Gordon. Firstly to Mike
What
Fletcher.
a scene. What a beautiful sight.
Great name in Australian
Fabulous.
sailing, Olympic coach, an outstanding yachtsman. Hasn't been in the best of health. And to you, Fletch, we wish you all the very best and a speedy recovery and a lovely scene there. And I hope you're enjoying the telecast.
Yes, the Olympic sailing coach in 1976. Great Australian sailor, Mike Fletcher. And Olivia Gates, who's a nursing sister at St Vincent's Hospital, is having her first race on Ciao Bella. She's the daughter of the former CYC Commodore Noel Cornish. And talking of St Vincent's, CYC owner and long-time member Peter Baven watching the telecast here. So a big cheerio to all of those people watching around Australia in hospital. We're thinking of you, and I'm sure you're enjoying this spectacular start to the Rolex Sydney Hobart.
And around the world too they're watching. I know we've got Steve Jarvin, Mothy, who's won multiple line honours and handicap honours, not doing the race. He's singing Aspen, enjoying the snow. We've got Jeff Stagg, a former winner of the race a couple of times. He's in Annapolis in the United States. Pete Montgomery in New Zealand. We say hello to you all and hope you're enjoying this coverage. And Gordon, it's 50 years ago.
How about the Fozy who are watching on Sailing Illustrated around the world? Jonathan Frank is reminding us about the Ted Turner's Mariner, the red boat.
I can tell you a story about that crew. It was 1975, Peter. Vicky Willman. And
that had the keel that was squared off the back end. And it was designed, of course, Ed Worley, you'll remember the story, I'm sure, you being a 12-meter expert, and Mariner, the red boat. Interestingly, red boats never won the America's Cup. And Ted Turner, as you know, Ed, went to his designer, Britt Chance, and said about Mariner with the squared off back end, the underbody anyway, he said, Britty, even a turd is pointed at both ends. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And after that, and that was, Mariner was what, in 74?
74, yeah.
And after that, Britt Chance was forever known as Shitty Britty. Clay Embley is saying, yeah, Mariner 12, US 25, the red boat.
That's right.
Yeah. Had you heard that story, Claire?
I have a vague recollection of it. Speaking of red boats, what's the status of American Eagle? Is she back together? Is she?
No idea. Somebody must know. Anybody in
I don't know.
Any of the Zoomers know?
Haven't seen an update, no.
Any of the chatters know? Now, you sent me, Ed, before we went to air, you sent me some pictures.
Yes.
Didn't you?
American Eagle.
Of American Eagle, because Ted won this race with American Eagle at least once, right?
Yeah, he raced it in 71 and 72, and American Eagle won in 72. Won line honors in 72. That'd be a heck of a sail on a 12 meter in this race. It'd be wonderful. It'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be wet.
And brutal.
That's okay. That's okay. I sailed on 12s and it gets very wet on the bow, but you just hang on. But
Yeah.
So
I met my husband on American Eagle.
You did?
I did.
Do tell. Tell us more.
On the starboard runner.
Were you
Yes, he did, and
were
I
you
kept yelling
competing?
at him.
Were you competing for the handle? And I've had nothing to drink.
You didn't say that.
This show
I
has
said
set
that-
a new low.
I've said it to the vice commodore of the New York. I apologize.
Shame on you.
Julie, you
No.
can give me a finger wag.
No respect.
No respect.
No.
That was Christmas night.
They'll probably work east of the
Ah.
but as I said, it's gusting well over 35 knots at Gabo Island. They'll be well to sea off Gabo, though. The fleet will probably be 60 to 90 miles.
Baton
or
Rouge
more.
likes the chances for the TP-52s for, not for line honors, obviously, but for the overall in the fleet. Probably true, because those boats are going to go quick downhill vis-a-vis their rating.
Look at that
Peter,
shot.
What about
Fabulous.
these increasing conditions and the west to southwest change that's going to hit the fleet? What about for the race record itself? What has to happen there for those 100 footers if they are to get to Hobart inside the 1 day, 9 hours?
As we watch Antipodes heading south, what's got to happen? They've got to get through the transition zones quickly when the breeze goes from the north to the northeast, northwest, and then to the west or southwest. They've got to try and pick the best angle of attack to get through. They can't stop. Tasmania, as always, plays tricks. There might be a big lee in shadow of Tasmania, so you've got to get through that. Probably stay a little bit offshore. But
Yeah,
then,
how
of
far
course,
offshore
that
to
last
go?
40 miles, as every year we say, Tasman Island to the Iron Pot at the entrance to the River Derwent is 30 miles, then 11 miles or 10 miles up the river. That's always tricky, and it always plays a great part in determining not over the handicap winner, but also the line honours winners. We
Beautiful
saw
summer's
Moore
day,
Connect grab
basically in
victory
T-shirts.
away from a master lot Comanche last year, or Andu Comanche as she then was.
You mentioned Brad Kellett is on board Antipodes. He was a sailing master on Perpetual Loyal when it broke the race record back in 2016 by 5 hours. I think that was the year that Wild Oats 11 was forced to retire. But Brad Kellett in his 32nd Rolex Sydney Hobart, same number as Adrian
Now, what is
Carlin.
Brad Kellett's relation, if any, to David Kellett, longtime leader in our sport, both in Australia and also in IWRU ISAF? Brad Kellett, is that the son of David Kellett? Somebody will know.
Fractional rig A sail.
That's
Is Mondo? No, sorry, it's not Mondo. I do apologise. It is Denali.
Denali, Damien Parks.
Damien Parks. Parksy.
TP52.
He was on Vengeance when they won
Look at
Limos in
this, Claire's
1981.
stoking her fire.
Ocean
We have to cut to
Crusaders.
that, Claire, while you're doing that.
Yes.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that was nice. Nice
And Ocean
evening.
Crusaders,
Indeed.
all
Almost
electric
10
boats. They
o'clock
have
in
big
Greenwich,
lithium
Connecticut.
batteries under the
Yes.
floor.
Cozy.
Cozy,
And,
beautiful.
solar panels all over the deck.
And talking of Commodores, Glenn Burrell, the Commodore of the Southport Yacht Club, is sailing aboard Ocean Crusaders. So there's plenty of Commodores out there, Gordon.
Well, the CYC has 5 of their directors competing in the race. Sam Haynes, of course, the Commodore, leading the fray in that regard.
Boy, these boats are getting quickly in the distance, aren't they? The two big fellas have gone. Wild Thing 100 would be staking a claim. Also,
Graham, did you see the
Celestial
question?
370
Maybe you
as we
can
watch
answer it here in the
Antipodes
chat.
reaching sail there.
What are you using to track the speed, Scott Davis asked? Is that AIS or is it the race tracker or what?
I'm using an AIS tracker.
Which might sound funny when you're trying to get to
I've just
Hobart
looked, and there's
quickly,
about a knot in it
can't
between
afford
Law
any
Connect and
accidents out here,
Andy
that's for
Comanche
sure.
at the moment.
Law Connect going a knot faster?
No, Comanche is just about
Comanche.
a knot faster. But the TP52s are around about steady 16 knots. So, you know, over distance it's going to pay, but, you know, they're doing well.
Uh-oh, looks like they're about to wrap their telecast. They're going to go for an hour, going to end here at the top of the hour. Well, there's a lot of other sporting events going on in Australia. I know Alistair
I know somebody
Murray-
is going up that mess now.
Yeah, there was somebody up there.
I think these are all replays. This is a video. And yeah, you can watch a lot of stuff here now on CYCA TV. That's their YouTube channel. Good stuff. I wonder if they're going to stay live on YouTube longer.
At some stage be east of the rum line.
There's the yacht tracker, but I don't know that there it is, Graham. Rolex SydneyHobart.com/tracker. Have you looked at that, Graham, versus the AIS tracker?
No, I'm sticking with the AIS, I think, because you can see what's going on as well. You can see the support boats when they leave, and where they're making their gains. You can see it a lot better with the AIS.
And I assume, gang, that it's required that these yachts leave their AIS on. Is that now a requirement in the notice of race or the sailing instructions?
Often, yes.
Do you do that now routinely at New York events? Is the Bermuda race, do you have to leave your AIS on?
That's a CCA thing, but I believe they do. Yes.
Bacon and egg pies, cold.
That is now.
No salt.
A lot of the sporting events now require some form of tracking. I think a lot of the insurance companies that cover it require it as well.
Yeah.
I was at
Bermuda, I think uses yellow brick.
Yeah, I was at a Round Britain powerboat race where they all got into the bar because they said they couldn't race. The insurer said they couldn't race to cover them because they didn't have yet the yellow brick on board their boats, and so the competitors all had spent a lot of money already, obviously, to get into the race, and they didn't want to spend any more money. They thought it was a bit of a con going on, so they said, "No, we're not paying any more money for this yellow brick. We're just going to race." And there was a Greek guy there. I can't remember his name now, but he was the guy that won it. But he just turned around and said, he says, "How much is it? I'll write the check. We're doing the race." That's how it gets done.
Bob Steele's saying that there's a time delay on the tracker. So that is the race tracker. So it sounds like you've got it right, Graham. It's better on AIS. Well, gang, I think they're about to wrap this up. You can see there a nice shot of Law Connect, who seems sorted out now. And there is their nemesis, Comanche, ahead of them, and to leeward. A lot of yacht race left, and it gets really tricky, as we saw last year, once they get into the Derwent in the river and get in normally light air, shifty, when they get in the final approach to Hobart.
The Tasman Sea.
Well, this is once they've turned out of the Tasman Sea and gone around the corner into the Derwent River, Storm Bay, and then the Derwent, from memory. We'll listen to their outro.
Repeating that Law Connect was first out the heads, but they then had a problem with their furler, and Master Lock Comanche took over, and it leads Law Connect as they head down the New South Wales coast. Thank you to Peter Shipway.
There's your race committee vote, Claire.
I know. I actually have a question for you, all of you guys. I mean, it's hard to tell with the TV coverage, but did you have the impression? I did, and you know more about this race. Oh, there's the boat having the difficulty. I think that line was terribly short. especially for that first group.
Well, the
Now,
problem
they must
is
be
they
due-
don't have room to make it any longer. They're pretty well
Right.
spread out from side to side. They've got to leave some room for the spectator boats.
Yeah.
And I think those lines are about as long as they can get them in Sydney Harbor. I
Yeah.
mean, somebody who's there, Peter Stevenson, aka Pedro Foiling Sailor, will know better than I or
Yeah.
any number of other guys. What say you all Aussies that are there and sailed in this race? And to Claire's question, I don't know, Peter Stevenson. While you're all thinking about that, Pedro is saying, "Are we going to see the onboard camera crew jump off?" I said that, talked
Yeah.
about that at the top of the show, and then we didn't see anybody do that.
Mm-mm.
And to all a good night. Yeah, well, on our Christmas night. Well, let's see if anybody's got an answer to Claire's question. It ain't over till Kate Smith sings, Jonathan Frank. No, no line not short. What's Justin Palm? Have you sailed in this race, Justin? He's a Detroit boy who lives in SoCal. So that's, I guess, about it. We're not going to see any more. We don't need to hear the commercial, do we?
Test of time.
Get us out of the TV coverage from YouTube. And thank all of you for joining us. John Albert Collings is saying that's why 4 lines are there to spread out the boats. Well, the other reason is so they don't start 5 minutes apart. That used to be a proverbial fuster cluck when they had everybody milling around and starting 5 minutes apart or 10 minutes apart even. And it's a marvelous job that they do. We should all be so lucky, shouldn't we, Claire, to have in any country in the world where you've got a live network. I mean, this is the 9 network. They've got the 3 or 4 networks in Australia. Live network coverage of a yacht race, the first hour of any yacht race. And you see where else do we see that in the world?
Yeah, not often.
I mean, the America's Cup is about it. Sail GP is sort of, but that's
Pedro's
about it.
answered Claire, which spectator boats east and west, which narrows off the harbor, and there has to be room for the ferry traffic.
The ferry traffic. That's the other. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
I think
gosh.
there we go. Peter Stevenson, aka Pedro Foiling Sailor. It's not only the spectators; they have to keep the ferries running. I remember in the Olympics down there, and lead up to the Olympics, that was also an issue. The ferries have to keep going. Mary Longpreet saying, many thanks for the good coverage. And we didn't do much except click a few buttons and show some weather forecasts and bring in the Zoomers. Thanks again to all of you. We've lost one of the Zoomers, Graham Sweeney, Ed Worley, Claire Harrington. Thank you very much. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Julia?
Let's toast him.
We're going to do a toast, are we?
Yeah.
To everybody.
To everybody, and especially the Zoomers.
We got to do our clink, though, don't we?
Oh, we do. There we go.
We do it over your camera, too, Julia.
Okay.
To all of you, wherever in the world, best wishes for the holidays. We'll see you on Friday. There, I actually had a sip of something alcoholic today. All of you, we'll see you same time, same channel. Let me just quick go through the slides and see if there was anything else I wanted to do besides the finish line, our standard closing slides. Just a reminder of the holiday schedule. We will be live at our regular time on Friday. We'll do a New Year's Eve show next Tuesday. And then on Friday, the 3rd, our regular show, and we get back into our normal sequence of every Tuesday and Friday at 1300 Pacific, which is 2100 UTC this time of year. Julia, you like to say.
Yes. Do not miss the opportunity to like, follow, and share.
Indeed. We'll leave the comments open. We've gotten well over 100 comments today. We appreciate that. We appreciate all of you very much. So if you want to comment, even while you're watching in replay when we're not live, you're more than welcome to do so. Just as always, remember, no personal attacks and no name calling, no coarse language. And if you say anything like, who you both, what did I say about trying to get the handle? You're competing for the handle. And if you say something like that with the Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club on the show, you're going to slap in the face or a wag of the finger.
I'm going to retire my balls now.
You said you had balls on your
but
head.
they were perfect. I loved the way they looked.
Okay, I just say one more thing here before we wrap this up. Of course, we want to thank the FOSI and all of you, but I got a Christmas present from Julia today, just so I promised to tell everybody what it was. I've run out of makeup, television makeup a long time ago. So Julia has given me some, what is it, Julia? Neutrogena Hydro Balance. This is also sun cream, right?
Yes, and it's a bit tinted.
Bit tinted. And that, for television makeup works pretty well.
Yes, it
is that what you're wearing?
Yeah.
Television makeup, got to keep the ferries running. Navigable depth of constraint. Bob Steele is saying, yes, indeed. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, John Collings, Jonathan Frank, and everyone else who joined us. Bourbon from Kentucky. Bob Steele wants to know where the bourbon from Kentucky is.
I've been eyeing it. It's on the back.
Well, you can have some now that we get off the air. Thanks, everybody. And we thanks for your support, and those of you, especially on Patreon, who joined as patrons, to those who gave us media for today's show. And finally, to all of you, Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, and we'll see you on Friday at our regular time. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.
Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, gang. Thank you, Julia.
Christmas prayer.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh.